It was an ordinary afternoon in Miami-Dade, Florida, when a mother's phone rang with the kind of call every parent dreads. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. On the other end was her 13-year-old son, his voice trembling with fear. He was home alone and could hear someone trying to break into the house through the back. His words were rushed, desperate, and filled with the kind of panic that makes your blood run cold. In that moment, one decision would change everything. The boy's father, though separated from his mother, was still just one phone call away. But he wasn't just any dad, he was an off-duty veteran police officer. And when his son begged for help, his instincts kicked in. The boy had spotted a man prowling near the rear of the house, trying to force his way inside. He didn't recognize him, but the way the man moved was clear. This wasn't a neighbor knocking on the wrong door, it was a threat. His name would later be revealed as Anthony Arias, a 29-year-old with a record, a man who had already served time behind bars for burglary. On this day, he had chosen the wrong house, the wrong family, and the wrong boy to terrorize. Because standing between Arias and his target wasn't just four walls of a house, it was a father who was willing to risk everything to protect his child. As neighbors went about their daily lives, they soon heard the sounds that would shake the calm of their quiet street. Boom, 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 one resident, Raul Artiles, recalled the terrifying moment when gunfire rang out. For decades, this community had been peaceful, untouched by violence, but on this day, the sound of rapid shots echoed through the air like a warning. Inside their homes, families froze, wondering what had gone so wrong. Outside, one father was in the middle of a confrontation that would determine whether his son would ever see him again. When the off-duty officer arrived at his ex-wife's home, he was met face-to-face with Arias. The burglar had a weapon, not a gun, but a long, sharp screwdriver gripped tight in his hand, raised like a knife. His intentions were clear. He had already threatened the officer's son, and now he turned his fury toward the father who stood in his way. Words were exchanged, but there was no time to negotiate. Arias lunged, and in that instant, training took over. Shots rang out, each one carrying the weight of a father's love, his oath as a protector, and the desperation to make sure his child would live to see another day. The aftermath was chaos. Blood stained the driveway where Arias collapsed. A helicopter hovered overhead. Police and rescue units swarmed the street, and neighbors whispered in shock as they tried to process what had happened right in their own backyard. Some peeked from behind curtains. Others rushed outside. But everyone knew they had just witnessed something extraordinary, a father's determination to protect his son at any cost. Christina Carmenate, the boy's aunt, arrived at the scene shortly after, her heart pounding with worry. Somebody was trying to break into her house, she explained later, still shaken. She called her ex-husband, that is a police officer, and there was some type of altercation, and there was a shooting. It was an attempted robbery, and the bad person was the one hit. Her words echoed the relief that coursed through the family. Their boy was safe, unharmed, because his father had gotten there in time. Paramedics worked quickly, rushing Arias to the hospital, but his injuries were too severe. By the end of the day, he was pronounced dead. His crime spree ended not in another burglary, but in a driveway where justice had been swift and final. Neighbors later reflected on the event, their voices filled with both shock and admiration. "That's a natural response," one resident said. "Any parent would do the same." And maybe that's true, but not every parent has the courage, the training, and the resolve to face down dangers so directly. For this boy, his father wasn't just dad. He was a guardian, a protector, and, on this day, a hero. What makes this story even more powerful is the thought of what could have happened if events had gone differently. A 13-year-old child alone, facing a convicted burglar armed with a weapon. It could have been a tragedy, a story of loss and sorrow. Instead, it became a story of bravery, of quick action, and of a father's refusal to let fear or hesitation decide his child's fate. And as the news spread across Miami, beyond, people saw more than just a crime and its consequence. They saw the strength of family bonds, the instinct to protect, and a reminder of how fragile life can be in the face of danger. In the days following the shooting, the quiet Miami-Dade neighborhood was still buzzing with conversation. People who had lived there for decades admitted they had never experienced anything so shocking. Some neighbors left flowers on the family's porch, a small gesture of support for the boy who had been so terrified that day. Others stopped by simply to say, "We're glad you're safe." The community rallied around the family, showing that even in moments of fear, unity can be stronger than tragedy. Investigators combed through the scene, piecing together every moment that led up to the confrontation. They found the long screwdriver Arias had wielded still lying in the driveway, a chilling reminder of how close things had come to disaster. Detectives confirmed what the father had said. The suspect had made an aggressive move, and the officer responded in defense of himself and his son. The case was ruled justified. But for the father, no legal ruling could ease the memory of seeing his child's panic in that desperate phone call. The boy, though shaken, grew to understand the depth of his father's love. He had always known his dad was a police officer, but this incident made him realize what that really meant. His father wasn't just someone who wore a badge at work. He was someone who would risk everything for his family, even off-duty, even in the face of real danger. The boy later admitted to relatives that when he saw his dad pull into the driveway, he felt an overwhelming rush of relief. "I knew I wasn't alone anymore," he said quietly. The mother, too, had her perspective changed forever. Though separated from her ex-husband, she couldn't deny her gratitude. He had run into danger without a second thought, saving the home she lived in and, more importantly, their son. "We may not be together anymore," she told a close friend, "but he'll always be the father of my child, and after this, I'll never forget what he did for him." Anthony Arias's past also came into focus. Reports revealed he had a long history of trouble with the law, including time served for burglary. To many, it seemed inevitable that his choices would one day catch up with him. Still, the father wished things had been different. Privately, he admitted he never wanted to take a life, even one belonging to a criminal. But when you're faced with a choice between your son and someone threatening him, he later told investigators, you don't hesitate, you protect your child. The story spread far beyond Miami. News stations replayed the details. Social media users debated the outcome, and many praised the officer's actions. "A good dad with a badge," one headline read. Others called it a reminder of the importance of being prepared to defend yourself and your loved one. Some questioned the use of force, but most agreed on one thing. The boy was alive because of his father's courage. Months later, the family worked to heal. The boy still had moments of anxiety, especially when he was left alone at home. But counseling helped, and with time, he began to feel safe again. His father was there every step of the way, reassuring him, telling him that danger had been faced and defeated. Together, they turned a terrifying ordeal into a lesson about love, bravery, and resilience. In the end, what could have been a story of heartbreak became one of survival and strength. A child was saved, a family was protected, and a community was reminded of the lengths a parent will go to shield their child from harm. The father's final reflection summed it up best. "At that moment, I wasn't thinking like a cop. I was thinking like a dad. And a dad will do anything to make sure his kid comes home safe." That day, in a driveway stained with fear and courage, one truth was made clear. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear badges. And sometimes they just answer the phone when their child calls for help.